married to a drug dealer. He went to jail for a period of time, to the city jail, and then he had his day in court, in the federal court, and he was sentenced for his crime of dealing drugs. After the sentence, he was allowed to go free with my signature for a little time, about a month, and then he had to report to the prison, the federal prison. But he had another court date in another state. So they allowed me to use my signature to get him out of jail until he had to report. Why did I sign him out? I ask myself that now. Why was I so blind? Why did I stand by him? Even though I know he was in the wrong, even though I had lived through so much abuse, I stood by him. There's a story in the book of Judges, Old Testament, read it. Samson and Delilah. You may have heard about those two. First of all, Samson was an Israelite. He was a Hebrew. He had no business in the enemy's camp. Delilah was a Philistine. She was from the enemy's camp. They had no business being together. Samson had no business being a child of God, going to the enemy's camp, but he did over and over again. And Delilah, being the evil person that she was, she tricked him over and over. She openly tricked him. He wasn't deceived about what she was doing. She was trying to trick him into giving up his secrets of his strength so that he can be apprehended by her camp. He knew this, but over and over he gave clues as to how to apprehend him. Why would he do that? Because he loved her and he was blinded by her. Why would I stay by my ex-husband through it all? Yeah, there was time I wanted to escape, but there was a lot of times that I stayed too. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, chapter 3, verse 3 and 4, chapter 4, verse 3 and 4. But even if our gospel is veiled, it is veiled to those who are perishing, whose mind the God of this age has blinded, who do not believe, lest the light of the gospel of the glory of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine upon them. Samson was God's people, but he was dabbling in the enemy's camp. I was a child of the Most High, but I defected into the enemy's camp. The God of this age, the devil, Satan, evil, blinded Samson's eyes so that he couldn't see how evil Delilah was. Or maybe he just didn't care. He wanted Delilah more than he wanted God. I was blinded. While I was in the enemy's camp, I was in the enemy's territory, I allowed myself to be blinded. So he got out of jail under my signature, and we transported him to the other state that he had charges on. and he went to court and was charged under the same federal sentence. We came back, and he had a business. He had his own little business of working on cars and a tow truck, a couple of them. While he was in jail, there was motors and car parts on our property, and the landlord told me that I had to get that cleaned up. I didn't know much about how to clean that up. I had driven the tow truck before, but not doing the work that was required. So while I was doing the work, I accidentally tore the clutch out of one of the tow trucks. I should never had to do that, but I did. I ruined the tow truck. I tore the clutch out, and when we were on the property, he was looking at his truck and realizing that I tore the clutch out. He slapped me right across my face. Why was I so blinded, and how evil he was? And then for the little bit of the month, it was a horrible time. I had a taste of freedom and coming back to the Lord, and there he was again in the house, hitting me and slapping me. I was blinded. I was in the enemy camp still, and I was blinded. I'll tell you the rest of the story.